Hey there guys, this is the Get You Up to Speed Where Have We Come with our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript coding. We're going to cut through some concepts pretty quickly, but it's a video. You can slow it down, you can pause it, you can stop it, you can rewind it. Don't forget that as you're watching. Here we go. I can go to File and New up here, or I can just simply right click in any folder. If my site is set up properly, you can see the previous video on that. I should be good to go. I'm going to create new file. And I'm going to call this one Catch Up. Now usually I would call this index, right? So we've got a number of other index files over here, but I'm just going to call it Catch Up HTML. And Dreamweaver does a ton of the work for me. As soon as I double click this, it is already going to populate this with a number of different things. As we already know, we've got doc type HTML up here telling it it's an HTML5 document. The HTML opens here and closes down here. The head is at the top, the body's in the bottom. What goes in the head? Well, so far we've put a couple things in here. We've put a style tag, right? And we have put, I'm going to go ahead and close that and indent it. And then we've got a script tag, right? So I'll go ahead and close that guy too. Now, Dreamweaver by default seems to like to indent inside, and that's okay. Either way works for me as long as it's readable and usable. Styles, we've looked at a couple different styles. We can actually style all types of elements. Like, for example, I'm styling the paragraph right now. I can change the text color to red as an example, and that will change everything in my body that I create as text to red that is in a paragraph. Our script is our JavaScript, and we use the alert function, which is a really annoying function that pops up. There are a lot more things we're going to do with JavaScript down the road, but I've got my JavaScript in place, and if we go down to body, we've learned about a heading tag. So this would be the largest heading. We've learned about the paragraph tag, which based on the style we just created, everything in any paragraph tag will be red. So this will be red text because of the style, right? And we got to close these tags. Some tags will open and close, and other tags open and close all by themselves, like this, for example. If I were going to do image src equals some URL to an image, or in our case, we've already got an images folder that is situated within this directory over here. So for example, if I were to go in here and look at the different files, if I had, for example, like mogwai.jpg. Now my images are actually currently missing, so but this tag opens and closes all by itself. You don't need to do, for example, on this, you don't need to do an image. That's not a thing that we do. If I want to create a link to some text, if I had text over here, let me just scoot my interface over here just a bit so we can get a little more room, if I can. Oh, it won't let me. All right, there you go. Let's go ahead and do an anchor tag with an HTML reference of, again, some URL.com, right? And usually that proceeds with like an HTTP : hypertext transfer protocol, and then www, like we could do google.com here, right? And that will mean whatever we put inside this tag, link to Google. All right, that'll be our actual link. Now how do we test this? If we hit F12, it's going to ask us if we want to save changes to catch up. Yeah, we do. And then the browser page will come up, and I'll go ahead and bring it over, and it'll look like this. So this is a heading. Text is red because of the style that we applied up here. We can do other things with styles, of course. And then we've got a link to Google. So these basic elements are what we've covered. We've also covered a couple others, but just to take a hot minute here to explain, everything in the body is what we see. As you can see, the heading is in there, the red text, the link to Google. We don't see the script tag per se, unless of course if I refresh the page, then it comes up with this hello here like that. But you don't see the styles being applied. They're just there, right? They apply to the actual element. So everything in the body is what we see. For example, let's go ahead and come over here, and I'm going to add an unordered list. So that's UL. And then every list element needs to be opened and closed, right? So part 1, and I close that guy and do another one. And a lot of times if I'm doing repeating styled content, I'll just copy and paste it, because why not? I want to, and then I'm going to go ahead and close this up. So you can see that the UL unordered list opens and closes here, and then we've got list items inside of that, and they're indented nicely so that we can kind of get a sense for what that code should look like. Anyway, so this would be part 2 and part 3. And what does that look like on our page? It looks like that, right? So we've got an unordered list. Again, I like to copy and paste if I know I'm going to be doing similar things, only this time we're going to change this to ordered list, and of course that changes it to numbers. So you can see this is a numbered list, unordered list, right? So ordered, unordered list there. So that's that. And then now we're starting to also learn about divs, and we usually will do a div around all the contents of the body, and we'll put a style on it. So as you can see, this div here, and I'm going to go ahead and indent all my content in here, and then indent this top div in this way. So you can see that the div is here, and then all this stuff is inside it. What I'm going to do now is create a style using a class selector called container. And what this means is I'm going to be able to take elements from the page and apply this style to it. And I'm just going to do a background color of chartreuse. Okay, so there's that. Now, as you can see, that hasn't applied to my page yet because I haven't applied it to the div. But as soon as I apply it to the div by going div class container, then that immediately turns my background green because I have applied container. Now remember, I made up this name. It could be Bob, it could be Rubber Chicken, it could be all kinds of different things that I made up. But let's make it up as something that makes sense, right? You want to have it make sense. So that's how I would do that. So we've got divs in here. We also looked at including audio and video, but I'll cover that later. But this is basically caught up to pretty close to where we are in class. So if you have any questions, let me know. That's an 8-minute video, so this is we've gone through quite a bit. Again, each one of these elements has a purpose within the HTML document, and it is the code that makes the web run, right? It's every web page that you see for the most part is going to be comprised of this. If I hit Control U, I can actually see the source code. So there's a lot going on here. Of these pages. So, and in that case, of course, that was some custom thing that Adobe's got going on. But last item of business that we'll look at is if I want to upload this, I would just simply click Upload here, and that should upload everything to the page. So there you go. We're getting long on time here, so we'll catch up more later.